Okay, so context, discuss. And I'll kick off on this one because it's an old chestnut and it's a phrase I've used, a phrase we've all used over and over again, that context is king. But then you have to put context into context as to what you're discussing. Everything that we do, from the very first basic that we walk into the dojo to do, to kata, to application, to scenarios, to self-defense, all requires a context to mean anything. There's nothing you can do in isolation that doesn't require something to make sense of it, as an opinion.
So I'm thinking a lot of the time instructors don't understand the context.
Mhm.
Maybe we can go into why that is later, but you will get people going and go, right, we're teaching you these basics. Why are you teaching me those basics? They have no fucking clue.
Mhm.
What are the basics for? And that's where I think you were saying earlier, we were talking about you do a basic punch, no one would punch like that. Well, but you need the context of why you're doing it.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people fail because they have no fucking clue why they're teaching you to punch like that.
No. Which is why they fall back on the, well, that's the most powerful way to punch.
Or shut up and don't question sensei.
Yeah, there is that.
Actually, I say that a lot to my kids. No, I don't. They're all bigger than me now, so I'll probably get my head kicked in.
No, it is an interesting one because it's one of the things when we talked to one of the very first things we talked about was the baggage that you took with you and the baggage you dropped from training. And there were a lot of things that I dropped in my initial transition away from what we call traditional karate to what I was doing that I then reinstated once I started to figure out why they were important. And that was in the context of understanding what they were teaching. And what they were teaching was not combative moves, it was not self-defense, it was not fighting. You were teaching mechanics and mechanical principles of body movement, and they were really, really useful for that. And if you skip those out of your training, and I've seen a lot of people, we talked about that when we talked about basics, a lot of people walked away from doing basics because it's not real. You miss out on the foundations of the body mechanics required to make karate work. But you need to understand what you're teaching with each of those movements and what it's doing and what it's showing you. And
We
that's
talked
not the
about that.
function of the movement.
Yeah, we talked about that before, didn't we? I think, again, a lot of people who are good at the bunkai side and all that sort of thing don't realize a lot of that goes back to the fact that they got a very good grounding in the basic body movements, the basic way their body should work. And if you try and introduce it too quick, people don't necessarily get it. I think there needs to be a balance because you can spend 3 hours marching up and down a dojo and people tell you basics are the most important. Yeah, well, do I ever get beyond marching up and down? But
Mm.
I know.
there's a balance to be
Interestingly,
had.
that yeah, I say interestingly though, I've got I've got quite a few students that now that haven't got that background from traditional with the bunny ears,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, but a guy in particular at my club now, he's got a big combat sport base, so he knows how to fight, and he knows how to
Mhm.
grapple. So doing the application, he's really good at, but his kata, because we don't do line work or basics or anything like that. The only basics we do is within kata. His kata's really poor. He's
Mhm.
really interested in kata though. Funny enough, he's because we just graded recently, and he said, "Oh, I must have done this about 300 times." Like he was doing Nidan and Sundan. He had like two. He said, "I've done these loads because I've really enjoyed it as well." But his form wasn't particularly great. But if I say to him, right, show me the application for this, he'll fucking smash it out of the park.
Mhm.
So
But
he's
again,
got a good combative mindset and good body mechanics for fighting other people without
yeah, so
kata.
Yeah.
again, basics can be working with other people, hitting pads.
Mm.
It's not, yeah. And I think, again, We talked about that as well, don't we? Go back
We
and
talk
listen
about
to
a lot
other
of shit.
podcasts, everyone. Go
Yeah.
back, listen to them.
But my assumption would be he's learned those same lessons via a different path with his combative
Exactly.
background.
Yes.
And this is where these things out of context become virtually useless. Because if you're not teaching people or you don't understand the lessons that you're teaching people with basics, then they're just doing the movements for the sake of doing the movements. And we have multiple generations of instructors who've learned that way and teach that way and have never stepped back to comprehend what the point of those movements is, what the context of those movements is within training. They just assume, oh, this is what we do. We do line work, and eventually you learn these things. We've learned them, but it's a very poor way of teaching them. It's like we say, when we've moved on to doing what we did, it works because we got 20 years of doing the other stuff first. But we probably could have got that 20 years of training done in a year if it had been taught
The right
correctly
way.
in
Yeah.
context of
Yeah.
what the lessons were that you were trying to instill.
It's a bit like learning kata, isn't it? I mean, why are you learning kata? What is the context for you doing it? I mean, really.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I've got a friend, and he always says he enjoys doing kata. He said the chances of him dying of a heart attack is way higher than the chance of him getting into a fight. So he
Mhm.
doesn't give a shit what the bunkai is. And so he would
Yeah.
just do kata for the pleasure of it. And for him, I mean, that makes total sense.
Mhm.
For me, I like the working out what it is. I like the finding going, oh yeah, that actually works when you do this. And you
Mhm.
put it in context of a fight. So again, it depends what your goals are as well.
Yeah. Yeah, goals are important, but again, it comes down to without a context, how do you choose what
Well,
your
that's it.
goals are,
Yeah,
what your path is? If you're not aware of what the options and the possible endpoints are.
totally.
So that's okay. That's quite interesting. So yeah, kata could be a tool for many things. Then really,
Mhm.
if you're putting it into context, oh, I want a bit of health and fitness. You could do something else other than karate. To be fair, couldn't you?
You
If you
could,
want,
but if you enjoy going to karate, marching up and down, flouncing around in some pajamas, doing a few katas, and then going home,
yeah,
as long as you know that, again, it's a different conversation. As long as that you know what you're getting and you don't think you're learning to fight, that's fine.
Mhm.
yeah,
Because I mean, some people would rather do that than go down the gym or whatever. And if that's how they get their fitness, all power to them. But if you don't, yeah, understand the context of what we think karate is, then, or the club thinks karate is.
Mhm.
So if the club's going, you're learning how to fight by doing that kata, and all you have to do is the movements, well, they're selling you a load of shit, aren't they?
Yeah.
Because it's not going to come out suddenly a mugger mugs you. You go, oh, fucking have some of that, motherfucker. It's just not going to happen, is it?
Well,
And
it
for the
brings
people
us.
listening on there, I did a very bad rendition of the start of Heian Nidan Pidan Shodan.
Uh-huh. But it
I
brings us
thought it was
back to the
awesome.
quote
Second down
of
worthy, easy.
yeah, the
Come on.
quote of you need to practice a kata until such time as it just becomes second nature and you use it in a real
Be used in an
confrontation.
emergency. Yeah, yeah,
But without a context, it never becomes second nature
No,
because
no.
all you have is a set of movements, and the chances of that kata falling exactly into that pattern at that time is pretty slim.
because yeah, if you don't know what it's for, you wouldn't be able to use it. Yeah,
Yeah.
like you
Well,
say,
you've seen what happens with the classic bunkai of, well, we've learned these kata, we've learned these basics. We have no context for the lessons of the basics. We have no context for the lessons of the kata. We've slammed them together now to make them mean this. So we're creating a context, but the context is the standard 8 attackers from 8 points on the compass coming in, block counter, step back, next one, next one, next one.
Well, it's that thing, isn't it? I mean, when I started karate and we did, well, hard physical warm up, hard basics, lots of kata, and then you do kumite, and you go, well, the kata and the basics you can sort of see together. Kumite was something completely different. I was like, well, that doesn't make any fucking sense. I don't understand why are we doing that if it doesn't fit to that. But no one was talking about bunkai then. And kumite is not the sort of fighting that bunkai is used for generally.
No.
So the context of sport fighting is different to the context of being grabbed and headbutted sort of thing.
Mm.
Not to say, and again, this is probably another conversation we need to have, and I think we probably did in the past, how sports fighting is actually very beneficial to real fighting. Because a lot of people who are shit at sport fighting will tell you, oh yeah, but it, you know, I do fighting and bunkai. Sports people can't do that. And you go, well,
yeah,
can't they?
I suspect there were a lot more shit fighters in the we don't do sport fighting camp.
Sport fighting.
I don't think we talked about that. You know, I don't think we have talked about that. I'm not sure we have, but it's a very good point. Yeah,
should we keep that? Because people for tune in, people need to tune in again, then, don't they?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's again, this is where the context of basics and kata sort of makes sense together, because what you're supposed to be doing in your basics is learning the mechanics of movement, the feel of how your body works, the efficient way to move your body, how to hold yourself, how to balance yourself, how to transition. And then you take that into kata, and then the kata gives you the shapes and the forms of what those movements mean. But you don't get that from the kata without putting a context around it. But if you just do kata without breaking it down into the fundamentals, you don't get the body mechanics training correctly that you require to do kata correctly, or the most efficiently you could do if you understood what the lessons from the basics were.
Which again,
and the sport fighting was, as you say, something Kanazawa came up with. Competition, it's a good way of testing things and doing these things, but it's a thing apart from karate. It was added in as a separate thing. It's not kumite as it should have been. Kumite extracted from kata. Kata was kata.
He could have made kumite. That so much better, couldn't he? Really, rather than long range dueling, it could have been more of a grappling type rule set, and that would have fitted with karate a lot better if he'd have done that. He missed a trick there, didn't he? Really.
Although I do wonder, because again, back then, people who do kumite now, general kumite, I mean, there was still very high level kumite, but it was pretty fucking brutal back then. I think.
True.
It was not like, tappy tap. It was like fucking let's knock each other's fucking heads off.
I know.
But it was still long range.
No, you're right. It was long range.
And it was a duel. It was almost like fencing as such.
It's like,
I suppose it came from kendo, didn't it, as such? Whereas if he'd done it,
he could have done
a bit more like,
I think they had that already, and so he was probably like, let's do something different.
Well, this is it. Yeah, it maybe
a load of young men wanting to punch each other in the face.
But as you say, it wasn't tippy tappy. I've had the nose thing. I've had a tooth pushed through the inside of my lip to the outside. And all those things in sparring. It wasn't an easy option, but it was a thing apart from what we now think of as karate.
Also, there's also that interview that was in one of Fighting Arts International that I remember reading with Kanazawa. I think it was Kanazawa, pretty sure. And he was talking about one of the first JKA tournaments. And he was saying about how they got into sort of grappling range. And he said, and I headbutted my opponent. And I think it was Nakayama asked him, why did you headbutt your opponent? And he went, well, both my arms and legs were engaged. It was the only weapon I had left. And he went, okay, fine, Ippon, you win. So,
yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying they had proper grappling, but they were fucking nutters.
Yeah. Well, as we said on the first one, it was different times.
Different times. If you haven't listened to the first one, go back to our back catalogue. Start listening to it now.
But yeah, so we've spent a lot of time talking about context, specifically just within the dojo in classical karate, just where the holes are in doing those things. But I think that translates through to everything else we see. You see, and I always have a bee in my bonnet about Facebook Reels, but there's not much you can do in something that lasts 15 seconds. But context around these things. And it's again a worn phrase that I use again. It's problems to fit solutions, which is, I think, a very poor approach to these things. Whereas you are saying, okay, I've got this thing, it looks really good. I now have to make up a reason to do it.
Mm.
So again, the context is completely arse about face. You should be looking when you're looking to do, and I'll do the bunny ears thing, even though you can't hear it on Spotify. That
Other platforms are available.
well,
That's
as far as
for sure.
we're concerned, Spotify and Apple.
Oh, okay. Other platforms are not available.
Is that for our 3 listeners on
I can't
Spotify
be
and Apple?
asked to do the work to go any further than that. So, but yeah, what you should be looking at is here's the context. The context is here's a real world problem that I could face. How do I find a solution for that? Rather than backfill, oh, here's something that I really think looks smart. How do I justify doing it?
Mm,
Because doing it that way around isn't putting it in a context.
exactly.
So people mistake what context is, I think.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
again, this is where you look at, I know we discussed this before, and as you say, John may well be listening. I'm quite happy to mention his name in this because when we're talking about scenario training, the context of the scenario is key. It's rather than there's a lot of stuff that people put out to try and look realistic and say, look, this is a scenario, this happens, this happens, this. No, you really need to do the groundwork in scenario training.
Well, we're not going to mention what video it was that was put out recently that we were talking about, but
No.
that involved something that you go, well, that would never happen. It all looked like very, yeah.
That wasn't John, by the way, this video. So
No.
Yeah,
This is something completely different. Yeah, and it was like, well, it all looked very good until you thought about it for what, like 3 or 4 seconds, and you went, why the fuck would that ever happen in the world? And it just wouldn't, would it?
It wouldn't, but it looked good on a street defense video.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Look how hard we are. Look at the solutions we provide. We provide a world of solutions to things that would never happen. But it looks good in a clip. And people think that's martial arts.
Yeah.
And this is why, not just karate, because the more I look at it, the more I get convinced that the majority of worldwide martial arts is a joke when it comes to actual confrontation.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? At least, I know, I think this is your point, Bry, that combat sports, at least are combat sports. They know what they are and they know what they teach.
Yeah. It's clear cut, isn't it? They've got an objective and they can train for that objective. So yeah.
And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's a great way to spend your time and it's a lot of fun to do.
And I think people who do proper combat sport, they don't claim to teach self-defense on the whole. No. I think, like we said earlier, it can be a byproduct, but it's not self-defense. You learn in the hard skills, but in a different context. There will be some overlap and some crossover, won't there? But
well, yeah, it's very easy to take those. If you're good at those skills, it's very easy to take them and drop them in. If you give them a bit of street, I'm doing the bunny ears thing now.
Yeah.
Some street. If you do some street context and you actually explain how that would fit in,
Yeah, but
they're going to be harder than most people who just
those skills are really valuable. But
yeah.
if you're then going to show them as self-defense, and I think there's a big problem with self-defense because it's the latest bandwagon that everybody's jumping on. Bless you, Stella.
We didn't hear that.
You didn't hear that.
Didn't hear
Well,
that.
Right.
I'll edit that bit out then. But
Or not.
what you
There's no editing in this, Bob. Don't fucking
no,
lie.
no.
We chop the start, we chop the end.
That's it.
That's it.
If
Well, that's
people
always-
haven't realised that by now, they are not listening carefully, are they?
Yeah. Anyway, where was I going? I completely forgotten now. But yeah, look, those are really valuable skills. And then you can say, okay, you can take those skills and apply those to self-defense if you put them in a genuine context and say,
Yeah.
take your skills. Here's a problem. What would you do to deal with that? And you'd find that you've probably got quite a lot of stuff that works for you there. But when you give people a let's call it what it is, a completely stupid scenario, saying, oh, well, the context is this, and we'll leave the bear hugs out of it. But it's a stupid scenario that's never going to happen in the real world. But I'm going to show you how to get out of a static bear hug, or I'm going to show you how to get out of a full Nelson where somebody hasn't nearly broken your neck and doubled you over in the first half a second. And this is self-defense, and this is my fancy move. And the context is that the person putting these moves onto you doesn't understand how they work, and they're not doing them right. Complete waste of good time.
Well, yeah, I mean, I did all my scenario training stuff with Rory Miller, and he was always of the opinion if it's not good scenario training, it's worse than not doing it at all.
Yes.
And I
You
can't.
need good bad guys.
Yeah, that was one of his big things. You need
Yeah.
proper good bad guys who can
You need
And
good
I think
bad
so-
guys, and you need to plan your scenarios such that
really well. Yeah,
they
But
reflect.
I think a good bad guy has to be a bad guy. I think there's
Yeah.
no pretending. I've seen people try and pretend to be
Mhm.
bad guys in scenarios, and it just don't fucking work. You've had to have had a colourful life to be a proper bad guy, I think.
You have to be
You know,
convincing
it's-
that you would hurt somebody in this situation. And
Yeah,
that
we've
typically
all
only
met-
comes across when you would hurt somebody in that situation. And you just hope that, yeah, they got that in their nature, but for the sake of the demonstration we're doing, they're reining that in. But they're convincing because they mean it right up until the point they don't do it.
yeah, we've all met. I mean, God rest his soul, Graham.
Yeah.
What a lad he was. Such a nice guy. Loved him.
yeah.
But you're like, yeah, he's played the game in the
Yes.
past. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember what
I can't-
it
I
was
can't
one
remember.
about
I'm trying to remember what
seminars.
his thing was at the bash. It was
He
like,
was talking about
don't
biting
bite-
someone's ear off.
or the nose, yeah, just
the
leave a little
nose,
bit
yeah.
hanging
It was
rather than
when we
biting
were, we
it
were
completely off.
the first
Or
time
you
we
bite
met
it
him.
off and spit it in their face.
Yeah.
It's like,
It's the first time we met him. He was on a course, and I think it was one of the ones we did down at your place, Bri. And he was, I'm like, oh yeah, and he's been so nice. He didn't know I was here. And he's saying some low grade. He's going, yeah, they bite their fucking ear off. And Jesus, it's hilarious.
Yeah.
He was a really good lad.
Yeah, but you need somebody like that in your
Yes,
in
you
your
do.
hand to
Yeah.
to turn out for those things.
Exactly.
but I don't know if we're still going to talk about it. It's still on the realms of context, but I've trained with some really bad people, and it's training. Do you know what I mean? So you still, I think I've had scenarios done, or I've been in scenarios where they've been done so well, it does get you adrenaline up, but you still know you're going to go home safe.
There is something about that. Yeah, you're right. And I mean, not wanting to quote Rory again and all that, but because he's been in a lot of real situations. He said even he isn't sure if the next time will be the time he freezes. He said, you can never be 100% sure. You just got to get as close as you can, but you're never going to replicate real violence with a scenario.
Yeah, but I say you always know you're going to go home safe, and I mean, when we spar in a dojo. Again, it's one of those things, you know, you're going to go home safe. But I think combat sport, if you go and you're going to go in for a fight, you don't know you're going to go home safe, do you? You know, so it's
Fair point.
it's you know it's you, I think all the scenario training in the world, you're trying to desensitize yourself something, but it's, I don't know. I think you get to a point, if you do it enough, you are desensitized to scenarios. But yeah, like you say, when the real shit hits the fan,
Yeah, I
you only know that.
I think the thing is, there's a fairly broad tranche of what scenario training is, and we tend to focus down on the purely physical. When the shit kicks off, you know, this is what you're going to do, and all you're really getting out of that stuff, I think, apart from the fact again that it's still good fun to do, is that you're building pathways in your brain such that it's not the first time you've ever seen this. It may not be real, and you may know in the back of your head that you're probably going home safe. But what happens if you're given that much information and you've never done that background training is stuff is suddenly thrown at you all in one lump. Your brain can't cope, and this is where the freeze comes in.
So,
Yeah.
I mean,
So what you're trying to do is just have this, okay, my brain is sort of familiar with this.
Yeah.
I stand less chance of just locking up and not, because I've got so many things coming at me that I've never seen before.
You've got to sometimes, you've got the fact that sometimes in scenario training, sometimes you should be able to either talk your way out of it or walk away. It shouldn't be like you're guaranteed to go into a fight every time. And people get that wrong, because sometimes every time it's going to be a fight, and everyone realizes that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, that's really hard to do, because playing a bad guy who will let you walk away if you say the right things, it's very hard to get that to work. And the other thing, is, that's right, that we send people into combat, real world combat, who've never fought before, but they do train them and they put them through scenarios, bunny ears again. The training is scenarios on, you know, Salisbury Plain or whatever, just to try and replicate it as close as they can. They know they're going home safe. So it is just, you do know it, but I think you're right, Bob. It gives you that. It's not the first thing that's ever happened.
Yeah, nothing is, or you're trying to minimize the surprise and shock factor by having familiarity with the scene, even if there's that.
But isn't that all of karate as well? Really? All of karate is that, surely. It's just giving you you're used to getting punched in the face because some idiots punched you in the face in the dojo.
Yeah.
It's just all a bit of acclimatization, I suppose. But it will never be real.
No. Well, it can't be, can it? Because who's going to train if they stand a 50% chance of going home in a body bag?
Put him in a body bag!
So here we go. Bullshit quote of the week. It is necessary to drink alcohol and pursue other fun human activities. The art of someone who is too serious has no flavour. Guess who said that?
Bob.
Chokimatobu. Okay, so what do you reckon? Bob. Yeah, it was Bob.
Bob.
It was me just now.
It was Brian. Anyone who takes them too seriously in any field is a bit of a dick, aren't they? Let's be honest.
Yeah, it's karate can be a big part of your life, but it shouldn't be your life.
Yeah.
I think to say it's necessary to drink alcohol is a bit of a bold claim. So you can not take yourself too seriously without drinking alcohol. Although I'm sitting here with a pint. I've just been sipping this away through the whole podcast.
This is not gin.
A pint of gin.
I've downed my share in my time, but
yeah.
less so these days.
But yeah,
I think taking yourself too seriously, I think it is.
I think Matobi took it a step too far, though, didn't he? You know, so I think it's get drunk and have a fight, which we've all been there at some point in our life as well, haven't we? So it's the other things he liked doing. Perhaps we should.
Yeah, I mean,
different times as we come often.
This is it. Yeah.
So I think you've got to have other things to give karate context.
Well
done, that, man.
And if you don't, and karate is all you do, then surely, and you're too serious, surely that's an easy way to break yourself eventually, because you'll realize you're probably not as good as you think you are, or some bullshit like that.
Well, and by the time that you've spent all this time building your life around karate, you realize that life has passed you by.
Yeah, when you realize there are other things that are actually quite fun.
Oh man, that was a sad end.
So we don't think that one. So
Life is a sad end, Brian.
Oh, thanks, Bob.
So that quote is not a bullshit. That we think that one's a good one.
Yeah.
We should probably have a voting system at the end of these.
Which is probably
Well,
why
there is.
nobody
There's the like
uses it.
button. And
So I tried to bring it back from Bob's really happy fucking ending there. So if
Bob's
anyone's
giving you a happy
still
ending.
yeah,
He's
if anyone's
getting paid
listening, you're all gonna die one day. So there you go.
Fuck
for. Life
off.
is terminal. Andy. There's nothing you can do about that.
Nothing you can do about it.